So how do you pass the SQE? Well, I haven't completed the SQE yet, so I can't give my personal advice on this. Now what I did is over the past month I spoke to 100 prospective and current SQE candidates. About a third had completed SQE1, and so I asked for their experiences. You know, what would they have done differently? How did they prepare for their exams? What advice would they give future SQE candidates? So in this video I'm going to share a summary of the advice they gave and talk about the launch of the SQE forum. It's a free forum where you can get access to this information, as well as find other candidates going through the SQE process in the future. Okay, my first piece of advice is to set a daily schedule to study for the SQE. Now it may sound obvious, but everyone said this, don't underestimate the amount of time the SQE1 requires. The SQE1 is intense, there's a huge volume of information to cover, it's a closed book assessment, and you have just over a minute to answer the questions in the exam. So if you set your studying schedule early, this is really going to set you up for success. Now people I spoke to, some of them did work full-time. One person, for example, she had a family to look after, she worked full-time, and she would dedicate the same time period, so 9:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. to study every night, and then she'd do more on the weekend. Another person estimated they spent about 25 hours a week to study for SQE1, and again more during the revision period. Personally, I'm a big believer in time blocking, so setting a dedicated piece of time in your day where you know is just for study, and then it's a fixed period of time where you can do other stuff outside of that, but you know that's something you're going to stick to, you're going to study during that period, and I find it's more likely I'll commit to it as a result. The second piece of advice is to look at the SQE assessment specification right from the beginning. This will help you to understand what to focus on, including the importance of the core legal subjects, which candidates sometimes flagged up. They didn't realise the importance of this until they saw the specification, especially because it didn't form part of some of the teaching by the course provider. Some candidates found it useful to structure their learning using the SRA's assessment specification, and then they used the course provider's materials to make notes on each of these sections. Lastly, Annex 4 of the assessment specification was pointed out because it shows you how much each subject contributes to the overall grade, and that can help you to structure your learning and help you to show you how much time should you be spending on each section and whether it's time to move on as well. Now let's move on to thinking about the exam, and the third piece of advice I received that was almost universal is to prepare exam technique from day one. That's largely because the SQE1 exam is a very different exam from other types of exams, even if you've done multiple choice questions in the past. It's largely because of the tight time pressure. So you have about 1.4 minutes per question, and one candidate recommended that you practice using those tight time constraints right from the beginning when you're doing practice questions. Over time you'll get better at correctly spotting the answer, moving with accuracy and speed, and improving your grades as a result. The other challenge is choosing the best possible option when many answers look correct, and so it's very useful to get used to the wording of the questions, the differences between questions that have the word must and always and never in, as well as may, and what does that mean for your answer. Another candidate mentioned that they found it very useful to look at the answer first, then look at the scenario, and that helped them to eliminate possible answers that definitely weren't correct. Then they could also save time by knowing which part of the scenario to focus on. The last piece of advice is the importance of practicing multiple choice questions right from the beginning. Many said there's no such thing as doing too many multiple choice questions to practice and really testing that active recall. One person found it very helpful to make flashcards and only wished that they started preparing by doing flashcards from day one as opposed to summarising textbook notes. Now what I'd say about all of the advice I've shared today is these are different candidates and all of you will have your different processes of how to revise best. But I think it's very useful to be, thinking about the exam, thinking about how to manage your time, and thinking about how you can give your best shot when it comes to studying for the SQE1. So that's a brief summary of the advice we received in relation to SQE1. The reason I've been having these conversations is I want to help in this space, but like I said at the start, the challenge is I haven't done the SQE. What I've realised after having so many of these conversations is what we can do to start with is create a free SQE forum, and that's what we're doing. So it's going to be a place whether you've got the SQE coming up or you've completed the SQE to discuss the journey, find other people going through the process, and ask questions whether it's exam technique, revision strategies, or what to expect. Now all of the information we received from the completed candidates who have completed SQE1, and some of them have completed SQE2 as well. They'll be sharing these detailed write-ups of their experiences, and that will hopefully really help you to prepare for the exam and develop your own revision strategies. Now I'm looking forward to doing more in this space. Good luck for those of you that have the SQE exams coming up, and good luck for those who are preparing to take the SQE in the future.